CEOs taking on diversity and inclusion. Now, more than 800 CEOs of the world's leading companies and business organizations, well, they're leveraging their individual and collective voices to advance diversity and inclusion in the workplace. In today's Bloomberg Equality, our ongoing conversation about the bottom line impact of diversity, well, our own Scarlet sat down with Brito, AB InBev CEO, and Tim Ryan, PwC's U.S. chairman, well, about the progress of the initiative and how the trainings have highlighted bias within their own organizations.
In June, we had over 800 CEOs who were signed up as part of CEO Action commit to what we call the fourth pledge, which is they committed to having a diversity inclusion strategic plan reviewed and approved by the board. 800 CEOs who are now reviewing diversity strategic plans with the board. Again, big advancement.
What happens if you don't meet that pledge, though? Lots of times people make great, ambitious goals, but if they fall short of it because something else came up, then are there negative repercussions?
Yeah, so the whole idea of CEO Action is to create a community of CEOs, which is where action happens at the CEO level. The whole idea is to create a group of peers who can share and build off of ideas. Each organization moves at their own pace, so we don't monitor and track. What we try to do is inspire and share different ideas, and we've seen great momentum in that.
Okay, so positive encouragement, positive reinforcement. Carlos, I'd like to hear from you. Tim mentioned how things have really changed in the last few years. It's become much more mainstream to address diversity and inclusion. When did you see it at your company, and why now? Why has this become such an urgent issue now versus 5 years ago?
Well, in the last few years, our company became much more global. So today we act in all continents, in many markets around the world. And it became very evident that if we didn't have representation of our consumers inside the company, we wouldn't be, or we could be out of touch with what was happening. The other thing, Scarlet, is that our company is all about attracting talent. And then it's the first who, then what. So, and if talent is equally distributed, because it is, you have to build a company that's appealing and inclusive and diverse enough to attract talent from all over the population spectrum, so you can make sure that the best talent is being addressed and would feel good about working for us. And that's why it became mainstream for us, because there are also many studies, and we've seen firsthand, that as problems becomes more complex and the world becomes more complex, a diversity of thought will get you to better solutions, better results, and it's the right thing to do.
Right.
And it's the right way to attract talent.
And there's diversity of representation because in 2018, InBev launched 2 new libraries of stock footage and still photos that feature a lot more women, a lot more people of color in your footage, which replaces the oversupply of images that, let's face it, feature a lot of white men drinking beer. I wonder, what's been the effect since then? What kind of feedback have you gotten? Is there a change in the pickup rate of these images?
Yeah, because one of the things we did was we did a big unconscious bias training in our company. It was started 3 years ago. What we realized is that, again, if talent is everywhere, but talent is not, diversity is not getting to the upper levels of the company, something was happening along the way. And what we concluded is that there was bias in decisions about people that we had to break. And the way to break is to make everybody aware that we all have bias, and we can control those bias in making people and business decisions. And that started making a difference. So today, for example, we have some algorithms that will help us in people decisions. We'll create a short list, so we're forced to look at names as opposed to just from memory. So the algorithm will look at capabilities, track records within the company, what's being required for a new position, and we'll come with a list of names that will then make discussions richer.
And Scar, I'm sorry, just to build off of that, one of the second commitment of CEO Action is we asked all 800 CEOs to commit to making unconscious bias training available to everybody. And to date, we've touched over 3 million people. We've reached them through unconscious bias training, physically, online, or with the gamification training.
I had 2 aha moments in this whole journey.
Yes.
One was the unconscious bias, when I realized that I had, bias. And looking back at some decisions, I said, well, had I had this training, maybe I would have looked at this decision in a different way. And the other aha moment was when I was talking to a group of LGBT people, and they were trying to talk about whether the environment was safe for them to come with their own selves to work. And somebody said that not yet, because sometimes they have to come, and when asked about what you do on the weekend, he had to come with a different story as opposed to reality. And that touched me.